everybody. Today I'm talking about the partial solar eclipse in Aries. This is the first eclipse since Rahu Ketu have moved into Aries Libra axis. And even though it is a partial eclipse, we should not ignore its impact. So let us explore. Hello, I'm Komilla Sutton, and I'm talking about the partial solar eclipse in Aries. Do remember to subscribe, press the bell notification. So you all know that Rahu Ketu have moved into the Aries Libra axis. And one of the main things about the Aries Libra axis is the movement of Rahu Ketu is that the eclipses are going to happen in Aries Libra. And so the first eclipse is upon us on 30th of April 2022. And this is a Rahu eclipse, and it's a solar eclipse. Solar eclipse is the one that is more intense. It is not visible in most of the world. The eclipse is at approximately 16 degrees of Aries, and it is visible in Antarctica and parts of South America. You can see the South America, Chile, Falkland Islands, Antarctica, of course, Pacific Ocean. So its impact, I would say, as Rahu is going into Aries, is also we have to think about all the news that we are getting about the global warming aspect of how the ice is melting in Arctic, Antarctic. So the eclipses are also highlighting this aspect. It's a partial eclipse. It's at about 16 degrees of Aries. And the time of the intensity or the fullness of the partial eclipse is at 2041 UTC. So this is universal time. And so most of the world, we are not going to be able to see the eclipse. But even though it's not visible, it still has an impact. And a number of people have said to me, oh, it's only a partial eclipse, it's not visible, it has no impact. Whereas I have experienced personally from before the eclipses I've watched, is that any eclipse, it is quite emotionally creating some energy for us, whether it is directly affecting us or not. It's a turmoil within ourselves. And because the energy is disturbed, especially on the eclipse day. So you can translate the time for 20 hours, 41 UTC is where you are based. And accordingly, that is the time you may feel it. Mostly keep 30th April, 31st, maybe 29th, kind of as a sensitive day, that these days energy is unsettled, disturbed, and it can affect us. Now, generally, if your birthday is around that time, around 30th of April, that means the eclipse is going to be close to your sun. If you have planets in Aries, then this is the first eclipse that you're going to be dealing with. So what is the impact of these eclipses? So anything Aries, if you have ascendant, sun, moon in Aries, Rahu is telling something, change is happening for you, unexpected. And if it is Libra, then it's opposite, because we will have a Libra lunar eclipse in 15 days after the solar eclipse. So I will be making a separate video for it. So generally for everybody, it is just a vulnerable, emotional imbalance kind of a day. But for Aries and Libra also, because Ketu is in Libra, but Aries specifically, it is a signal or a nimitta omen, you can say, for some change, transformation to take place. Also because Rahu has retrograded from 0 degrees Aries, it retrograded back all the whole zodiac and come back to Aries. That means this is a very mature Rahu. So therefore, some of the impact he's making and letting us know that this is a very important time of life, and some major issues are going to bubble up that we have to think, decide. And most importantly is it's not to be decided at the day of the eclipse. Sometimes nothing happens at the eclipse. Often some weather patterns, you can see earthquakes either side of the eclipse. Some big issue can come up, but you can't say that it's going to happen on that day. You should avoid having, starting important events there, getting a new project started on an eclipse day, because the energy is very disturbed. And then most importantly, for the next 2 years, because Sun gets exalted in Aries and Rahu is there and the eclipses are there, that means that we are not able to enjoy a clear-cut transit of Sun in Aries. Usually it's a very rejuvenating, positive transit, but this is not a easy transit, and an eclipse is there. So we have to recognize that the Sun is being overshadowed by Rahu. So this can also show, because Sun represents people in power, governments or presidents, prime ministers. So it can show some transformation there. And especially if people are having, either board meetings or elections around that time, then that it can reveal some new unexpected information as well. But on an average day, I would say that take that day easy. Don't over pressurize yourself. Don't pack your day with too much activity. Do what you normally do. Usually in India, when the eclipse is visible, they pay attention more to spiritual things and do meditation and things. This is not a visible eclipse, so it's more psychological, the hidden areas of life. So therefore, just to have a simple day, and that is, I would say, the best way to deal with it. So how does it affect you? Aries, obviously, the eclipse is in Aries. This is the first eclipse. You want to see ascendant Sun and Moon in Aries. There is going to be a change. You are ready for change. Usually the eclipses bring unexpected revelations, unexpected energy. And it is first of 2 eclipses. The next one is 2023. So depending on the degree of your planets, then Aries has the maximum impact. Now, Taurus, eclipses in your 12th house. Watch for expenses around this time. Generally be tight on expenses for the next 18 months because Rahu is transiting there. Rahu can give crazy expenses or make you desire more. Good to focus a bit spiritually and a lot spiritually if you want during the eclipse, but also Rahu transit. Gemini, the eclipse is in your 11th house. So this is showing some change of how you earn your money, the finances. It can also have some impact on elder siblings for you as well. But money, I would say, is the main area, and don't make any important decisions around the eclipse time. But otherwise, Rahu's transit in the 11th house is pretty good. So it can bring you more rather than less. Cancer, eclipses in your 10th house. 10th house is career, job, maybe thinking about changing, transforming. Again, don't do anything on eclipse day. What is interesting is that Rahu's transit in the 10th house is very good, but the eclipse days are not so positive. So you are watching the eclipse days and restraining yourself from taking action. So the eclipse is in your 9th house. Of course, sun is involved. It's a solar eclipse. That means, what do you say to yourself? I'm not thinking clearly around the eclipse. The sun exaltation not really helping me. I should be careful what advice I'm taking, and decide later on. Do watch my Sun in Aries video as well. That will help you further. Virgo, eclipse is in the 8th house. Rahu is also transiting the 8th house. Eclipse can bring some unexpected change, transformation. However, Mercury is not involved in the eclipse. It is in your 9th house. So think, take your own advice, but, stay calm around the eclipse time. That would be the best thing. Libra, of course, eclipse is in your 7th house of relationships. Ketu is transiting. There's soon to be a lunar eclipse. So you can say that this next 10, 15 days, 30th of April eclipse and 15th of May lunar eclipse, these are a bit unsettled energies. I think in my last video by mistake, I said 15th of April. The lunar eclipse is 15th of May. I'll be making a video about it. But for you, this is a bit unsettled time. Don't make any great decisions at this stage. And also Ketu transiting. Ketu is always encouraging you to do something alternative. So watch for that. Scorpio, Aries is your 6th house. So it can suddenly bring out opposition, difficulty, obstacles. Normally, Rahu's transit in the 6th is fine. It is just the eclipse time that is unsettled. Mars is not involved in the eclipse, so that way that is okay for you. But just, if something sudden obstacle comes your way, then don't make an instant reaction to it. Wait till after the eclipse is over and decide how you want to react to it. Sagittarius, Aries is your 5th house, ideas, children, creativity. Eclipse is happening there. So it can suddenly bring issues regarding that. Maybe your thinking is going too out, eccentric or different. And so what you have to say to yourself is, maybe my ideas are not so perfect at this stage. Let me wait. However, you are very much helped by Jupiter's position just now, Jupiter being in Pisces. That helps you a lot. Capricorn, the Aries eclipse is in the 4th house. You may be thinking changing home, changing a car. There may be some sudden change, transformation connected to your desire for happiness. And the eclipses are a long term, because there's going to be another eclipse next year. So there's no rush to make a change, but you can, if your thought process is happening, then don't do it on the eclipse day. Aquarius, Rahu is in the 3rd house, eclipse is in the 3rd house. Generally, 3rd house is a good transit for Rahu. However, for the eclipses, just to see that you're not pushing too much, because 3rd house is communication, ideas, and just to keep calm during the eclipse and wait to after. And of course, Saturn has now come into Aquarius, so he's sort of reminding you of duty and responsibility. That is a separate aspect that you have to consider. Pisces, Rahu is in your 2nd house. Eclipses are in the 2nd house of money, finances. Don't be over-ambitious, and definitely around the eclipse is not a good time to make investments, because you can be over-ambitious, you can take a risk, one risk too many, so be careful. Although Rahu's transit in the 2nd is average, neither here nor there, but still Ketu is in your 8th house, so you do need to watch for that. So that is it for today. Do remember to subscribe, press the bell notification. Thank you very much.